So I hope you have started looking at or revising our today's work. And if you notice, I have corrected. There were a couple of errors in the morning web project. So I have already corrected them regarding that connection issue, regarding that normalized months issue. Did you have a look at it, or are you still revising? Are you understanding what I'm saying? I just give me a minute's time, and then you can continue. So here you are still revising. No problem. I'll just tell you what are the corrections. Everyone knows. That is why I took. I mean, they don't get time. So that elapsed month, I told you there was some method, but I was not getting the name of it. It's two total months. Okay, so if you take the cursor here, gets the total number of months in this period. That is multiplying the number of years by 12 and adding the number of months. This is the method I wanted. So that takes care of. So I removed that year elapsed and replaced it by months elapsed. You understood the first thing? You remember we had a problem in the morning. I just taken a easy way out, a shortcut out. So that that was a normalized one. And here, like somebody reported, when I visit again, we were getting connection is already closed. So that was just a very easy fix. I told you, try it out and you will get it. So your database utils class was still, even when you, what do you say, when the user revisits, the connection I was not nullifying. Connection was closed, but I was not nullifying it. So the next time user logs in, another user logs in, connection wasn't null. So it was returning the connection which was closed. So just a simple hack, just a simple solution. I just made connection equal to null here. So the next time user logs in, we were calling closed connection and all. That was not a mistake. It will go to connection equal to null branch and recreate the connection all over. Understood the solutions of the problem? I mean, at least I could see these two problems. I don't know if there are others. You can always report. You can always tell me. So as usual, definitely do two things. I have mentioned it in today's suggestions, instructions. So this is your, as far as day 9.1 is concerned, that was a web application, full-fledged web application, but with a JDBC based DAO. And then do spend time. See, I'll tell you very honestly, if you just keep on reading only this readmes, it is not going to take you anywhere because it's just a first day. Over days, you are going to take time to get the understanding. So do visit Hibernate overview diagrams, overview 1, overview 2. These two readmes, which will tell you a little bit about session, configuration, session factory. This is little more in detail, so you may not really react to it or understand it. But this is also a good one. JPA annotations, where I have got my readmes, but this is a exhaustive list. So again, my suggestion is don't look at those annotations which you have not used so far, but at entity, at table, at ID, generated value, etc. You can definitely look at it. So do revision, do the revision of both the things. And I'm not going to disturb you anywhere close to 4:44, 4:45. Later, and anytime you want me to revise any of it, you just let me know. And after around 1 hour, 45 minutes, I'll get you to the next level of DAO layer and we'll write at least the create and retrieve part. So till then, if anyone is facing any issues, any questions, any confusion, do ask. Continue with your work otherwise. Do let me know in whatever smallest possible doubt, difficulty, confusion, anything.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Akansh?
Ma'am, I want to share screen.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, show me.
Yes. Is it visible?
Not yet. It says has started. Give me a minute. It will start. Yeah, it is visible now. Yes.
Ma'am, while running, ma'am, it is showing this action.
Run it and let me see what it is. What is happening?
Yes, ma'am. I have run it.
Says class not found exception. org hibernate.cfg configuration class. Go to that. Okay, let me take control this one so I can do it fast.
Yes,
Let me see whether the Maven dependencies are downloaded at all. So let's see, your Hibernate Commons, Hibernate Core is downloaded. So that is what contains all of that. So here, dialect class I'll talk about. Siddha, keep your this thing question aside. I'm going to talk about Hibernate dialect later. It's basically a database version. Here, Hibernate utils, you have a problem. So there's no compilation issue. Org. Just a second. Session, not class, Rohit. Interface, org.hibernate.session interface. First 2-3 paragraphs. This is fine. Then we'll just do something, Akash.
Yes.
I'm just cleaning the project so that if there are any unresolved dependencies around,
Yes, ma'am.
I got that. And let's see now. It's still getting that. So Hibernate utils Java 11. So some dependencies seem to be issue unless until I'm mistaken. This one, Kaushik, Tushar, just wait for a while. I'm just solving Akansha's problem now. I'll come to you in others. So I don't see anything unless until there is a something wrong. Or let's check how I always take it. Actually, let us see whether it is pulled in or not. So what I'm doing here is I'm opening this Hibernate core. And then there is a org.hibernate.cfg package. So there is a org.hibernate.cfg. I'm just checking whether that configuration class exists, unless until there is some silly mistake such as import this. So
Yes.
I can see, yeah, I can see the configuration class. So it should not, it doesn't look like Akash the Maven issue. Let
Yes,
me
ma'am.
look at your Hibernate utils more carefully. Mapping class spelling. Okay, thanks for telling me. I'll just check. So let's see. So here, factory new configuration configure build session factory. What one of you is suggesting is there's something wrong in your Hibernate configuration XML file. Let's see whether you have made a mistake there. Did it work for the first time when that mapping entry wasn't there, Akansh?
No, ma'am. I have copied your project.
Oh, you copied my project. Okay.
Yes.
So just a second. Root. This username password is fine.
Yes.
Your password is 12345 and the username is root is fine.
Yes.
Back 22 is okay. All this doesn't look to be problem. Mapping class pojos.user. So what I'll do is I'll even remove this
Yes.
so that we will just check whether the initial bootstrapping, I'm not able to mark it. Can you, I got it. It's a little slow from this side.
Yes.
Control/. I just want to, I don't even want to look at that user pojo. Let's see whether your basic Hibernate configuration is working at all. Anyone find some mistake, do share Hibernate here because I don't see any obvious mistake. There's no coding problem is what I feel. Something else is. Otherwise, we'll build the dependencies all over. No, it's saying no class definition found where I can see all that properly. Why it is having a problem. Are you having any Java? Which JDK version you are using? You're not changed. You are using, anyway, I'll check. JDK 11 only, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I have written everything for JDK 11. Let's see, let's see. So module path is showing properly. Java IC 11 and Maven dependencies are also shown. Hibernate core. I can see everything. Let's build the Maven project again. Now I'm seeing something. All these things are like troubleshooting. So generally, I don't ask people to use it, but since it is not working in your case, I'm just checking. Oh,
Yes.
some of the things were not downloaded. See this Maven, or maybe I don't know. So it is saying all that. It has cleaned it. So let me just build it once again. It's
Yes.
like building the project from scratch. Basically. Not getting a response. Right click. Not getting right click. Okay, got it. Run as. It's extremely slow from this side, so it is taking me a lot of time, nothing else.
Yes.
Run
No
as
problem.
Maven build. Okay. All these things are not required unless until there is a Maven issue or dependency issue. So, but since I'm not able to figure out the problem in your case, I'm just trying all the troubleshooting things. Is it showing? Because now it is not, it is a hung kind of a thing from my side. Anyway, let's see. I got it. So maybe I'll just add install. Install and let's say run. So maybe install plugin wasn't downloaded properly. It is compiling all this. Fine kill code is fine. I am just looking at this build console, nothing else, huh, Akash? So it was saying that some of the
Yes.
plugins. Let's see. Oh, now it has started downloading. So maybe some things were not downloading earlier. I am not sure. Let's
Yes.
let this finish. Now it is downloading so many things. It wasn't download. It hadn't downloaded earlier at all. Looks like. Okay, so it says build success, and now let's try to run your application again. Responding. Okay, it responded. I want to run this test Hibernate. So still there's a problem. Okay, so I run out of all the basic troubleshooting tips. Let's try something else. Last one, otherwise I'll have to ask you to delete the repo and build it again. We'll do that in a minute, just a second. So
Yes.
what I'll do is I will make some other thing, but I can't new configuration.configure. And let's see whether under SR, this is my project. You will not touch anything other than that, because then I can discuss it, check it otherwise. Okay, what we will do,
Yes, ma'am.
Akash,
This
is
is your
yeah, it's project. No, anyway, I'll not take chances. I'll just create a new project. Let's see. Otherwise, I'll ask you last resort is, I'm going to ask you to delete the repo folder.
Yes, ma'am.
This one, Utkarsh, you kill the process and start all over.
Ma'am,
This is all because of the halfway downloaded dependencies. Exit from that and do it all over again. This is all because of your incorrect. I think, Akash, in your case also, this is all because of dependencies are downloaded halfway or something,
Yes.
is what I guess. I'm not 100% sure. Take help of other lab faculties and get the things sorted. Don't wait for this. Otherwise, parallelly, you can follow whatever troubleshooting tips I'm doing for Akash. Group ID and all is fine. Create a new project. It is fine, Pranav. I said that already to somebody else earlier. So see this. Set up this Discord. This such kind of things you are having adds the supports. Okay, anyway, there's something wrong which is happening because I don't get this error message. Anyway, we'll see what happens.
Yes.
It is still, you can see from the bottom right corner, it is still downloading things.
Yes.
Which I forgot to ask you this one, Akash. Which STS version you are using? 3.9. Which one? 16, 17, 18. कौन सा वाला? You remember that? 16 only. 3.9 is fine. 3.9. What is the update version? I didn't hear you. Couldn't hear you. You can type it maybe on the chat because I think that downloading is going on. You heard me, Pranav, right? 5.4.18 is what I got. So that's fine, absolutely. It's doing the download. I think you have a net connection issue where the Akash, I'm talking to you because it should not take so much time at all.
Yes, ma'am.
So what you do is you log off from this call for a couple of minutes,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
you saw me doing the steps. So just create the empty Maven project. Repeat the steps which I did. They are all written in the lab sequence. Because see, now it is stuck. It is not able to go ahead at all. So if I click on this download option, I mean download progress.
Yes, ma'am. Now it is still
Yeah.
downloading.
Still downloading. So what I'll do is I'll release the control. You can remove this all. I'm talking to not just Akash, anyone who is having this dependencies halfway loaded, log off from the call, let the whole, I've given all the instructions in lab sequence, follow them and try to create the project from scratch. And then you can join back the call. Okay, so
Yes.
I'm stopping your sharing.
Yes.
Tell me once you try this again, once you have got the dependencies again. Till that time, unless until dependencies are downloaded, I really cannot help you.
Yes.
Anyone having problems next?
मैम
Yeah.
मैम आपने जो कल डेट CMS दिया था ना
हम्म
वो रन नहीं हो रहा मैम मेरे में
नहीं अभी डेट का क्यों कर रहे हो डे 9 का दिया ना अभी डे 9.1 यूज द लेटेस्ट वर्जन डेट CMS मत यूज करो
उसमें
वो डे उसका ही मैंने आगे कंटिन्यू करके किया था डे 9.1 सो डे 9.1 रन हो रहा है का देखो change your username password because that you why should we debug the old one okay so if there are any issues in day 9.1 tell me I'll debug it definitely वो कल का anyway half complete था ना complete नहीं किया था कल
यस मैम
continue and one more common suggestion common instruction for those whose downloaded depends I mean whose dependencies are not downloaded I gave that instruction in the theory session go to user home directory of course you have to exit from this thing Eclipse if the process is hung kill the process go to your user home directory which is in my case this you will definitely find a folder created .m2 delete that repository folder if your STS is on, if your process is running, it may not give you the permission to depose because Spring Tool Suite uses all that. So I said, close the exit, delete it, then import my project again and say force update or simply update. Even force update will do. And let the dependencies get downloaded and then only you can continue working. After the dependencies get downloaded and after you have edited Hibernate configuration XML file, 100% Hibernate is a rock solid framework. I mean, there's no way it can fail. But if your dependencies are not, I have another way out also, adding external jar, but that is a old approach, so I generally don't take that approach. So try working on Maven, because in couple of days, I don't know, 4 or 5 days maybe, whenever I join Spring Boot, whenever I show you Spring Boot, that time we are going to use Maven. So again, the same issue you're going to face. So get your net connection and get your dependencies downloaded fast. Let me know in case of any problems you're facing other than this, like I said. Just a second, Kritika.
Yes.
Akash, you can do one more thing while you are trying. You make a project, zip of that project, okay, whatever you have, and send it to me. I'll see if I can see any problems in the dependencies. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
But you also try to download it separately. Yes, Kritika,
Yes.
you are saying.
Ma'am, can I share my screen?
Yes, of course.
Ma'am, I have tried running your shared program of day 9.1 and it is showing me this error, root access denied, and I changed the password and username here in DB utils. So can you help me with this?
Yeah, of course. Let me see the. So your username and password is correct. Okay, let me this one, Kritika. Run any of your earlier program which was working. Let me see that first.
Yes, okay.
You must have created some of your earlier stuff, na working one. So
yes,
I don't know. Yeah, please.
Ma'am, even in that, actually, yesterday I was facing the problem of like server issues and all. And when I was editing
Then
it,
it could be a MySQL issue, you know. Then I may not be a good person. Your database guy, database administrator could be a better person. Anyway, let's see. Because if it is your MySQL itself is not working and you're suddenly, because all these days you never cribbed, right? You never faced any issues.
Yes,
So
yes.
could be a problem with my, I don't know. Show me your earlier running one. Yeah, date my CMS maybe. देखते हैं. Because unnecessarily we'll waste our bandwidth in looking at error where doesn't exist. There may not. Console दिखाओ. Double click on console.
Yes, ma'am.
So is it working fine? So no, is it? I don't know. It should show the DAO instance creation. Okay. Anyway, continue with this. Give some. I just want to see whether it is working at all. Because if it works in one project, then there is a project related issue. Okay, user DAO created. No, but here, fine. That 404 is fine. Here you may not have that validate.js.
Yes.
That is okay. That is fine. But at least user DAO creation, there's no problem. Yeah. Now show me. Now you yourself can check. DB utils uska iske साथ compare करो.
Yes. Okay. This is of
D8 my CMS है तेरा.
Yes.
At least that tells us, you know, good news is at least your MySQL is behaving properly.
Yes, ma'am. So this is of
root
my
and root.
CMS.
Yeah, my D8 my CMS.
Yes.
I can see the same thing. Why don't you just copy this, you know, into the not working one?
Yes.
File itself. You can copy the file itself.
Okay.
So that we'll figure it out what is wrong. 9.1 में ना. Yeah, you can click on utils पे click करो. Click on utils and say Control V. It'll ask you to replace overwrite. Yeah, yes. Just open that once. Just clean up the troubleshooting tips. Just confirm CN is not. नहीं वो CN equal to null भी बनाया था ना. Anyway, just add a line after line number 23. CN equal to null. Connection equal to null. So that even after re-login, you won't have an issue. Okay, and now just clean the project. Right, click on day 9.1. Go to that. Go to that file edit source. वो menu है ना, उस पे पास project है. So वहाँ पे project.
Sorry, ma'am.
I'll just take a control.
Yes.
This one I was saying. ये project. Array, you see your major problem. Build automatically you have disabled. So after making the changes are not getting affected. So jo bhi kuch, whatever you're doing now, it is not getting affected. That checkbox was, and I mean, of course, not intentionally, by mistake. Never ever, guys, whoever is listening on this call, never ever change that build automatically disable. Build automatically means whatever changes you are making to Java sources are getting compiled. Without that, things will not work. So I cleaned your project. Let's try running it. Yeah, you can try, Kritika. Right click,
Okay,
run as. Okay, no issues.
Yes.
So there was something, I mean, there was no issue in your code. Only problem was in that build automatically flag.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Continue.
Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else wants to share screen? Anytime you have a problem, tell me. By 5 o'clock at least, I want everyone to complete the revision along with the downloaded dependencies and all that. I want to start revising Hibernate and doing something new after 5. Basically, yes. Yeah.
Ma'am, it's
Yeah.
visible?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Ma'am, why this error occur here?
Double click on it. I can't even see the error. Double click on console so I can maximize that console so I can see the error properly.
Okay.
If you just double click on that console tab, na, hota hai maximize.
Wait.
Access Hibernate dialect. That this typically means this one, Swati. There is a problem in your Hibernate CFG XML. Hibernate configuration file kholo. Hibernate CFG.xml. Under SRC main resources, hai na? Let's see. You also check. Okay. Is your password root? Line number 13. अरे username password edit करना था ना.
एक मिनिट.
पासवर्ड रूट दिलायस तू तो माझा रूट अँड रूट माझं कॉम्बिनेशन आहे तुझं पण सेम आहे का? So you have to edit that ना. हा पासवर्ड आहे तुझा?
Yes ma'am.
युजर नेम रूट आहे का?
हो ma'am.
You can always confirm, तुमच्याकडे डिस्ट्रीब्युटर्स तुमच्या वर्किंग आहेतच, तिथून फक्त कॉपी करायचंय. नाही हे नाही रन करायचं, कॅन्सल कर. हे थोडी रन करणार आहेस, तुला ते ह्याला जा, काय तुझ्या टेस्ट हायबरनेटला जा, टेस्टरला जा. टेस्ट नाही.
Okay, yes ma'am. Yes, I'm getting confused. Yeah.
नो इश्यूज. इथे रन कर, आता रन कर.
इथून रन केलं तरी चालेल ना मॅम?
हा, इथून रन करायला चालेल. हेच तर रन करायचं ना, टेस्टर आहे ना आपला.
अच्छा, हा. नाही,
जर तुम्ही XML फाईल जर रन करायचा प्रयत्न केला तर ऑफकोर्स इट वोंट वर्क. Yeah, so it's created.
नाही, ते मॅम माझं रूट्सच प्रॉब्लेम होता. येस. ओके मॅम, थँक्यू मॅम.
Continue.
Ma'am?
Yes, tell me.
मैम ये छोटा सा था, इसमें मैं इंपोर्ट किया मैम 9.1 को, एक एरर शो कर रहा है।
हाँ, शेयर करोगे स्क्रीन? शेयर योर स्क्रीन सो आई कैन सी। वो रेड क्रॉस एक पे तो आएगा, logout.jsp है राजीव, वो आएगा। अरे मैंने बताया ना, कम ऑन, यू डोंट रिमेम्बर थिंग्स। अरे वो आईडी को नहीं समझता कि दिस इज द इनवैलिडेट मेथड, बट एक्चुअली द सेशन गेट्स दिस थिंग, व्हाट यू से, इनवैलिडेटेड। वो मैंने बोला था थ्योरी सेशन में।
ओके मैम।
This is the error you have to ignore. We will fix this error when I take you to Spring MVC. Understand me what I'm saying. Is your session getting invalidated? 100% yes. How will you know what I'm saying is correct or not? वो सेशन लिसनर लिखा है, उसमें मैंने सेशन क्रिएटेड सेशन डिस्ट्रॉयड लिखा है, तो सेशन डिस्ट्रॉयड छपेगा, इट विल कम ऑन टू योर कंसोल। Are you understanding what I'm saying? तो इसमें सिर्फ आईडी का एरर है, आईडी doesn't understand that you are calling a invalid, ignore ID error चल रहा है।
ओके मैम।
Yeah, continue. I'll repeat the same statement for everyone. If anyone is stuck on red cross on logout.jsp of day 9.1, ignore that error. It is because ID is not really understanding our EL syntax, and it is thinking that you are trying to call get invalidate method, which obviously doesn't exist. But as I was telling Rajiv, we have written a session listener, HTTP session listener, or wahan pe we have added session created, session destroyed. And if you see your, what do you say, after the user logs out, you are seeing that session destroyed. That itself tells you that, okay, session is getting invalidated. Okay, so ignore that red cross, ignore that error. We'll fix it in Spring MVC. I want to have a, okay, Pranav, you are getting, that is, no, this one, 5.4.18 is fine. You are still stuck on that, Pranav. See, I'll tell you, wait a second. Guys, if you are worried about 5.4.18, that is the version of Hibernate core jar, which is perfectly fine. I'll show you this one, Pranav, or anyone who is stuck on that. Not in the bad sense, in the good sense, I'm saying, don't worry. So, Maven dependencies, and if you see my Hibernate core jar, so Hibernate core jar ki version for me also is 5.4.18. How can you have a different version when you are taking the pom.xml from my side? Guys, are you understanding? I have given you a ready-made pom.xml. So that is, I mean, this is what it is. Okay, so that is perfectly fine. So no issues, absolutely. Okay, so that way it is. I don't know what you meant, but anyway, so I've clarified, so it is all fine. Only thing is, use the sorry, what is it called? Advanced version 8.0.27. Otherwise, you have to load the driver and code increases. Somebody was asking me some question, I forgot. Yeah, database dialect issue. Somebody had a question regarding MySQL database dialect issue. Not issue, question. When I revise, I'll explain that. This not in between, Ankit. When I do the revision, at that time, I'll take this. Currently, I'm giving you time for your self-study. Okay, so around 5 o'clock, we will do the together revision. At that time, I'll quickly give you all the annotations, example of it. And if you see, I've given the links. They're really good tutorial links. So if you take this, the author does give you a good description. So of course, I'm going to answer your question. Don't worry. But I think you would have taken, yeah, large objects are declared with this. So if it is a, this one, Ankit, character large object, again, the LOB is the annotation. But I'm going to show you tomorrow binary large object, same annotation. But like I said, don't worry. I will take it all in the revision. composite key, no, you have yeah, I mean you have this software is totally ahead of time. Even if I tell you that there is a concept of an embeddable class, are you going to understand it? So wait, let us have the simple primary key first, and then we'll definitely talk about composite primary key. So the annotation remains the same, but there is a concept of embedded classes and all that I'll show you. I'm sure you must be having such requirement in your project. I'll take it, but not on first day in Hibernate. Some other day.
मैम
Yes.
कनेक्शन लिंक फेलियर शो कर रहा है मैम एरर
किसमें?
मैम 9.1
वेब प्रोजेक्ट में या किसमें?
मैम जो आपका प्रोजेक्ट है उसी को मैं रन किया मैम
नहीं ट्राई करो ना अपने आप करने को. वेब प्रोजेक्ट है या हाइबरनेट का प्रोजेक्ट है, मुझे वो तो बताओ.
9.1 हाइबरनेट मैम.
हाइबरनेट तो थोड़ा सा डीबगिंग करो ना. हैव यू एडिटेड हाइबरनेट CFG XML देख लिया वहां पे सभी? अभी आई वाज टेलिंग समबडी, स्वाति आई गेस, डिड यू चेक हाइबरनेट कॉन्फ़िगरेशन XML एडिट किया या नहीं किया ये करने के बाद? Are you understanding me, Rajiv?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
said after importing day 9 Hibernate, like how you used to change always DB utils. Abhi kahan pe hai database configuration? Database configuration is in Hibernate cfg.xml. So मैंने आपको पूछा, have you modified this password and username? What is the answer to that?
No, ma'am, Hibernate का नहीं है, I'm sorry.
हाँ तो okay, हाँ तो ठीक से पूछो ना. You're not talking about Hibernate. So you're talking about web project.
Yes, ma'am.
Share your screen. नहीं इससे कुछ फर्क समझेगा नहीं. I mean that means the servlet, this MySQL. Hello. The problem is with the MySQL. This open MySQL command prompt, MySQL command line. ये चल रहा है. एक सेकंड. Sorry. I was looking at it. DB utils ठीक है. See the quick fix to that. Quick tip is like I was telling one of you, Kritika, I guess. पहले वाला कोई तो चलने वाला प्रोजेक्ट होगा ना, वो देख लो चल रहा है या नहीं.
मैम वो तो चल रहा है.
देखा? अभी देखा? परसों का नहीं, अभी का देखना चाहिए मुझे. Just run any of your earlier project. वो नहीं, ये वाला चाहिए मुझे, डेटाबेस वाला चाहिए, खुद का. या रन करके दिखाओ. So that we will have a confirmation कि डेटाबेस में कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. रिमूव ऑल करो. अरे रिमूव ऑल भी चल जाता है. एनीवे अभी नहीं, अभी CMS चाहिए. करो फिनिश. शो द कंसोल पे क्लिक करो. कंसोल हाँ एनीवेज ये कंसोल नहीं, सर्वर साइड का कंसोल. मुझे सर्वर साइड का कंसोल देखना था राजीव. Unless until you see the error free console, how can you go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
IDE का कंसोल दिखाओ. Okay, तो अभी तक तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. Anyway, it is still starting. Wait, can you see on in the top right bottom corner? ये सभी चल रहा है अभी. So wait for that. हाँ. Now give some credentials. Login.
मैम काफी स्लो क्यों चल रहा है?
तो रैम का प्रॉब्लम होगा. सी इट इज योर वर्किंग प्रोजेक्ट भी नहीं चल रहा है तो प्रॉब्लम इसमें नहीं है. MySQL सर्विस डाउन होगी तुम्हारी. ओपन सर्विसेज एंड देख लो एक बार MySQL डेटाबेस ओपन है या नहीं. उसमें भी प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है. Are you understanding, Raji? The problem is not in JDBC or DBUtils. Problem is in your MySQL database. खोलो services, देख लो वो सर्विस चल रही है नहीं. इसलिए मैंने पूछा था कि MySQL कमांड लाइन क्लाइंट रहता है ना हमारा. Just open MySQL, हाँ कमांड लाइन क्लाइंट खोलो, वो देखो वो चल रहा है या नहीं.
नहीं चल रहा है.
हाँ तो उसकी पहले सर्विस चालू करो एंड पहले वो करो एंड देन यू दिस थिंग. ठीक है
मैम सर्विस चालू कैसे करूँ मैम एसक्यूएल का?
सर्विस चालू नहीं, मैं दिस गो टू द सर्विसेज, स्टार्ट बटन में सर्विसेज, सर्विसेज से MySQL 8.0 खोलो और उसको चालू करो. सर्विसेज यू शुड बी नोइंग ऑल दिस. सर्विसेज खोलो वो दिखाएगा. सो उस पे MySQL देखो. M, click on it and say M.
वर्क नहीं कर रहा मैम.
अरे MySQL है ना वहां पे, MySQL 80, I can see it from here. अरे MySQL 80 है ना नीचे. हाँ उसको इस पे क्लिक करो and say start the service. I don't know why you stopped it. It should be always automatically up and running. तो अगर डेटाबेस डाउन है तो कैसे चलेगा ना. तो अभी MySQL कमांड लाइन क्लाइंट टेस्ट करके देखो. So remember all these things, Rajiv. So next time you won't waste your time.
Okay मैम.
अभी वो क्लाइंट कमांड लाइन क्लाइंट खोल के देखो चल रहा है and then you run your Java code.
Yes मैम.
हाँ तो अभी जावा करके देखो, नई प्रॉब्लम है तो once again share your screen. Okay?
Okay मैम. Thank you.
Yeah, stop sharing.
हॅलो मॅम.
Yes, Kunal?
मॅम आपण एक सेकंड एक्सेप्शन हँडलिंग केलेली ना मॅम वेब एक्सएमएल मध्ये टाकून. हॅलो.
हॅलो मॅम.
Yes, शुभम.
मॅम ते ट्रान्झिएंट बद्दल सांगाल का?
एक 2 मिनिट. तेच आपण मी म्हंटल होती ऑलरेडी लोकांना 5 नंतर जेव्हा रिव्हिजन करणार आहोत तेव्हा बोलणार आहोत, आता मध्ये नाही. कंटिन्यू विथ युअर ओन रिव्हिजन. हा दिस वन. कुणाल,
हॅलो.
यू आर सेइंग समथिंग.
हा मॅम ते आपण एरर हँडलर पेज लिहिला आणि त्याच्या आधी आपण ते एक्सएमएल मध्ये टाकलेलं आणि एरर हँडलर मध्ये आपण पेज कॉन्टेक्स्ट लिहून मग पण मला एक कळलं ना की पेज कुठल्याही पेजचा जर एरर असेल तो इथे कसा काय येईल, म्हणजे पेज कॉन्टेक्स्ट
आपण केलं ना तिथे. एक सेकंद मी माझं शेअर करून सांगते. कालचं रिवाइज केलं नाही याचा अर्थ. एक सेकंद आय विल शो यू. सी वेब कंटेनर reads the instructions from web.xml. एक मिनिट. Open your day 9.1. Anything you can open. Anything म्हणजे जसं आपण लिहिलंय ते वेब एक्सएमएल मध्ये हे केलेलं आहे ना. So he instruction, who is going to read this instruction? Web container at the web application deployment time. And what are you telling the web container? If there is an exception of the type java.lang.exception or its subtype, your container has to forward you to this global error handler page, which is /errorhandler.jsp. Understood what I'm saying, Kunal? So this is where the instruction is. And here, you just have to tell the container that this is your error handling page. So this automatic forwarding, this forwarding is done automatically by the container thanks to this tag.
म्हणजे कुठलाही पेज वरती झालं तरी मला म्हणजे पेज स्कोप संपल्यानंतर
पेज स्कोपचा काही संबंधच नाही. आपण पेज स्कोपचं कुठे काय बोलतोय? पेज स्कोपचा काहीच नाहीये संबंध. एनी एरर, नॉट ओनली JSPs. आपल्याकडे आता किती लेयर्स आहेत? वी गॉट DAO, वी गॉट लिसनर्स, वी गॉट पोजोस. कुठल्या एनी एरर डिटेक्टेड ऑन दिस एंटायर वेब एप्लिकेशन, in that case web container will blindly forward you to a common error handler page. आणि इथे जर तू कन्फ्युज असेल की इथला पेज कॉन्टेक्स्ट, तर जेव्हा तू एरर पेजला फॉरवर्ड करतो तेव्हा ह्या एरर पेजच्या पेज कॉन्टेक्स्ट मध्ये एरर डेटा एक्सेप्शन इन्फॉर्मेशन टाकतो. समजलं?
येस मॅम.
कंटिन्यू.
थँक्यू मॅम.
Guys, if you have a question on regarding anything on Hibernate, we are going to start a revision in another 10-15 minutes. So 10 minutes hopefully. But if you have a question on the earlier one, web project, and it's not working, definitely ask. Otherwise, I'm going to revise things in Hibernate. How much is the size of G session ID? Does its size change as per request? No, it's a fixed size. It's a fixed size string generated by the web container automatically. Count the number of characters. It's not going to change. That's it. Whenever you are ready, nobody asked me regarding is thread safe. So you have to ask me the question. I told you that it was a reading homework. Anytime majority says they have read it on is thread safe, I'm more than willing to discuss it. Maybe tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning is the thing. Okay, remind me before I start any topic today, because I don't want to invest time. I want to invest time on our Hibernate. That's why. Remind me first thing tomorrow morning. I'll take that. Provided, tell your friends that, I mean, read everything. Because, if half of you understand, half of you don't understand, then it's not worth our time. So everyone has to just read that 2-minute read part and I'll discuss. Okay, that way. Majority should read it. Majority means more than 75%. while using listeners to close connection. Yogesh, I already fixed that error. Did you not look at it? I already fixed that error. Open DButils. Check my send. I've uploaded it on this thing, Google Drive, day 9.1. Just make connection equal to null. Oh, you are saying something else. Sorry. Non-transient connection exception. So I think you are calling something. You are trying to close that connection. Please check, compare your DAO layer's cleanup code with mine. I think you are somewhere writing that connection close in one of these DAO layers. Check it out. It will tell you the line number. So check it. You should be having only close connection method in DButils. And in that close connection, it should have cn.close and cn equal to null. Check it out. Because the error message tells you easily, no operations allowed after connection is closed. So you're trying to reclose the connection which is already closed is what my guess is. Try. If you can't figure it out, then I'll help. No, not Shubham, not only in database. We have spent so much time on the word persistence in core Java. Persistence means anything storing in a permanent manner. So in core Java, we stored all the information in a binary file. Here we are storing it in database. You let me know when your self-study is done, so I can take the revision quickly and not waste time. Yeah, Shubham is saying, but Shubham, you are saying, but I'm waiting for the majority to say that. Guys, are we ready to start the revision, or you need some more self-study kind of a time? You are ready? Okay. So great. So let me share my screen. And here, I'm not revising the web application as already stated. If anyone has a specific question on web application, ask me after this revision is done. I mainly want to revise your Hibernate part. So tell me, what is the whatever majority says, I'll do. Do you want to create a, what do you say, new Hibernate project from scratch? So you'll get a practice also, and we can do that thing, do things also. You want to do it, or you want to continue with the existing one? You let me know. Like I said, I'm open to all. Okay, so new one. So open. Let's start from this. Start with the instruction. And I definitely don't expect you to remember. That is the reason we have got that lab sequence and all. So keep opening that. Day 9 help I had already shared. And in Hibernate help, you'll see lab sequence. Keep that open. I'm just going to follow the steps from here. And in between, we are not going to copy that user. I'm not going to write each and every annotation, but I'll explain each and every one. So first thing, change the perspective to Java, read the instruction, follow it. So now I think majority would be working along with me. So here, this is your top right corner. If you are into web application, this is your J2E perspective. Then this is your Java perspective. Change the perspective to Java. Keep acknowledging fast so I can explain fast. Did you change the perspective to Java? I need response. Okay, I got a very, what do you say, slow, delay response. Anyway, so now go to the top left corner. And can you see the drop-down list? Maven project. Choose the Maven project. Got it? Now I gave you the analogy. Maven is equivalent to your project management tool, NPM basically. So more instructions, more information I'm going to give you on Maven, but some other day. So today I just want to focus your attention on Hibernate. So this is your project management tool. Easiest way to download dependencies till we go to Spring Boot. So there's a concept called as archetype selection. So don't do that. Just hear what I'm saying. So if you don't check this checkbox, if you just do next, it will load a lot of ready-made archetypes. And then, you can select one depending on the thing. So today I'm not asking you all this. Today, you simply say create a simple project. by skipping the archetype. Archetype is like your template. So we are not using any template. We are doing everything on your own. Check this checkbox. Next it. Now there is a concept of a group ID and artifact ID. So group ID is nothing but the reversed your company name. So for example, you are working for, let's say, mindtree.com. Mindtree is a well-known name. And so it will be like they will use all the APIs or their domain names will start with the in the reverse manner, com.mindtree. So here I'm just saying, so anything. So I'll say, suppose example. So example.com. Okay. Artifact ID is going to be related to your specific project. Okay. And if you don't use something like a final name and all, your jar file, which will be a bundled output of this, will have this artifact ID. So keep it simple today. Artifact ID is related to the name of the project. So here we say day 9 lab. So you'll know in the sequential manner. Since it is still a core Java application, let it be jar. And suggestion is keep the artifact ID and the name of the project same. And this thing, simple Hibernate application or Hibernate project, Maven-based. All we are going to do is the CRUD. Okay. And if you want, you can give the extension of day 9 lab Hibernate here, but I'm not taking anything else in that. So I just made it day 9 lab. So all these entries are done. Say finish. Now onwards, since your dependencies are already downloaded, it should be very fast. When I say very fast, I don't know how much RAM you are carrying. So that way it will differ. So day 9 lab is created. And if you expand on that, the J2 ESC version is still 1.5. So what is the trademark? What is the most important document or like your package.json? What is it for your Maven project? The name of the configuration equivalent to package.json is where we are going to add all these dependencies. What is the name of the file? pom.xml. POM stands for Project Object Model. More on Maven as I told you later. So tell me, everyone's basic POM having model version, group ID, artifact ID, etc. created. But is it having any dependencies yet? No. So there is a concept of a Maven central repository from where I have downloaded all, from where I've got this dependencies tag. But it takes huge amount of time. So I'm doing that step for you already. So now you can open my project, which is at day 9 Hibernate. Open pom.xml and you can see all the, now later you are just going to copy from earlier projects. So this is only for today. So which tags you are going to copy? You already got till description. So start copying from build tags. There is a one build plugin and a couple of dependencies. Okay. So copy this from earlier one. You can close that. And where I want to paste it under the description. So if you expand, oh, I got it halfway. So just say control space and you'll get it. Done this much, copied the dependencies and this. Okay. So now just take a look at it, what we have brought in. So here, I want to change. I have been insisting that use JDK 11 because my XML configuration files and all are configured for that. So this is anyway best stable version. So this is what it is. This is what it is going to compile using the JDK 11. You'll see the JDK structure and all getting changed. The final name, again, I'm saying let's not have multiple names. So I would suggest the name, artifact ID, and even final name. What is the significance? Later I'll tell you. When I show you the package, there is a one Maven goal called as package. At that time, when it creates a jar file will have this final name. So all those are more details on the Maven side, nothing to do with Hibernate. And then you will see here it has, so this is what I have actually at before sharing it with you, what I've done is I've gone to a location called as Maven Central Repository. So just to give you an idea, I'm not at all telling you that you should do it and all, but sometimes having an idea gives you a better clarity. So how I have done it. So here you can say Maven Central Repository, search for Maven Central Repository. This is a repo which is present online. And when you do it for the first time, your dependencies just start getting downloaded from this. So if you say Maven, the second link, Maven repository.com, repos and central. If you click on central repository, so here you can just search by thing. So for example, I say I want to load the Hibernate core. So I just give the search key as Hibernate core, and if you say search, so here it will tell you that there are so many. So suppose you say, okay, I want Hibernate ORM, Hibernate core, and the beta versions and alpha versions don't use. So earlier ones, okay, there are so many guides and all. So I don't think they have given anything. Okay, the vulnerabilities and all, we don't want anything. So here they're not showing. Anyway, you can say Hibernate 5. These are all Hibernate 6 are still in alpha version, beta version and all. We don't use such versions. We use the typically stable version. I'll say Hibernate 5 core. Once you have, Spring Boot, you don't really require it. And here, Spring Core, we don't want. Hibernate Core. Okay, so I'll just pick up one of them. So for example, Hibernate annotations. And one of the versions, the one with the final version, when you click on it, this gave me the dependency tag. So when you click on it, the whole thing gets copied. And using such technique, I have populated our entire pom.xml. So I have reduced your efforts in looking for compatible versions between various dependencies, and I have populated it already. So here, now having said all this, all these dependencies are hopefully present in your local repo. So you may not understand what I'm saying. What I showed you is a Maven Central Maven Central repository. But so for the first time when you had started in the morning, you have a Maven local repository under your home directory .m2 repo folder. Initially, it would be empty, and that is where you are downloading from remote repository, central repository to local repository happens. And once your local repository is populated, next time onwards you create a project, it will hardly take a minute. So of course you save it. You can see that in most of the cases it updates the project, but there are always problems. So troubleshooting instructions are like important. So let me close other things. So when I say day 9 lab, as a precaution, if things are not working, or as a precaution, let's say as a precaution, always update the Maven project. Day 9, right click on day 9, please. Can you see a Maven option here? And here when you say update project, you are just telling this Maven tool or Maven project management guide or tool basically to update, to sync up the projects with the dependencies. Whatever you have written in pom.xml should be applied. So you say update project, and like one of you said, for her it worked with the force update. So let us not take chances. Check this checkbox, force update of snapshots releases, whatever latest releases it will bring in. Latest means the ones which are mentioned in pom.xml. So now tell me, is the progress bar stopped or is it still downloading? Is it downloading or not downloading, guys? Tell me. Not downloading. Okay, because it is already, you have got all the jars are pulled in from your central repository to local. How do you know this? In a minute. First observation, JRE system library changed to Java SE 11. You keep telling me yes or no. That means it has started following. You remember that source and target compiler version I've changed, and main CT confirmation test is here. You can pick up. So for example, Hibernate core 5.4.18, and you read, I'm reading from my own thing. So you take a look at it and tell me where it is available in the local repository or in the remote repository. local or remote. Not in my case, you read yours, I can read mine. 100% it would be available in the local repository, and this tells you the default Maven home. So what is the value of a default Maven home? In my case, I'm reading C:\users Madhura .m2 repository and then the further packages. Everyone survived so far, managed so far, without any red crosses, without any errors. So now, hereafter, what my suggestion is, keep this template project. See, tomorrow, day after, everything, all only for Hibernate. Okay. So every time I don't want you to take efforts. So what I'm going to ask you tomorrow onwards, copy this project into, let's say, day 10.1 and continue with Hibernate. Are we all good here? So I hope all the dependency issues and all have been resolved. So this is a starting point. Next. Now let us do the revision, understanding also and the steps also. So here you have brought in all those jars. But Hibernate needs the Hibernate is an ORM framework. You know that. So after adding the Hibernate support, are you going to use JDBC APIs by directly going to the connection, prepare statements, execute query, execute and all? Absolutely not. Whose APIs we are going to use? Hibernate APIs. What will be the packaging of Hibernate? Will start with org.hibernate. We are using for next 2-3 days only Hibernate native APIs. Okay. So parallelly, since you know the whole thing is in the architecture, so you can open. I've shared a lot of diagrams. So which is the most important API in this picture? Which is the most important interface, which we will use 99% of the times? Give me the answer. It's a, no, not Session Factory. Session Factory is just our provider. Which is the main interface you're going to use, guys? Session. So have a 1 minute or whatever, 2 minutes recap. So what is session? Is it an interface or is it a class? I or C? Interface. 90% of it is interface, other than some configuration classes and all. So when you say interface, there has to be an implementation class. So that is what exists in those Hibernate jars. But when I say session, all these things, I've written it in detail. This is in points, but the details are there in that Hibernate_help document. I've given the list of readmes to read in the today's instructions. Okay. So when you say session, what does it represent internally? What does a session represent internally? A database connection. No. Abstraction is fine, but what is that abstracting, Mohit? It represents it abstracts what? A database connection. So is it a fixed connection? Not a database, it's a database connection to be precise. So let me ask you, is it a fixed one single database connection, or does it represent the connection from a connection pool? From the connection pool. Okay. So why connection pool? We were happily working. Application will fail miserably the moment you submit it to multiple clients. So we want Hibernate to create a pool means collection, pool of database connections right at the startup. And whenever we will write a DAO layer in couple of minutes once we finish the revision. So whenever you have a DAO requirement, for example, we have user. So we will start with register user, insert a user record, get the particular user details, CRUD operations. At that time, we will get the session. And when you open the session, what will happen internally? Is Hibernate going to actually get the connection all the way from the database or from connection pool? I said, when you open the session, will it actually physically get the connection like your driver manager or get connection, or from the pool? Answer is from the pool. And since it is already created, the responses will be extremely fast. Okay. So the first thing is you have to, you're going to use session. Currently you have not used, but in the DAO layer you will use. So next question. If you want to obtain the session, which is the interface which works as a session provider? Which interface is going to give you the session provider? Of course, it is a session factory. See the word session factory. So focus on session factory. Class or an interface. You know, most of the things are interfaces. And of course, it has a session factory implementation class in those, in one of the Hibernate jars. So when you say session factory, okay, let's compare these two because it's a popular question. Will you have in your web application, okay, web application, core Java application, I don't care. Will you have in your application single session instance or multiple? I'm talking in session, single or multiple. Answer is multiple. So it's a vague answer. So let's give a precise answer. How many sessions you will end up creating? One per demand. Means what? One user may want to register. One may want to unregister, unsubscribe, delete, or any CRUD operation. Anytime you want to perform the DAO layer operation, CRUD operation, you will be obtaining the session. Okay, so you will have one session per request. One session. Don't confuse. This is not a HTTP session. Wake up. We are talking about Hibernate session. So one Hibernate session per demand to the DAO layer. And little later, you will see there is a method session factory.open session, and you will be opening a brand new session there. Okay. So now focus on session factory. How many session factory objects you will have in your application typically? Answer is 1. But suppose you are doing really what do you say, a very involved project, and suppose you have 2-3 databases. Okay, let's take a number, 2 databases, MySQL and Oracle. So how many session factory objects will you have then? 1 or 2? Answer is 2. So what is the complete answer? 1 session factory object per application per database. But now, in order to get this session factory, you have to configure, you have to give the instructions to Hibernate in order to populate this Hibernate configuration. So tell me, which is one file, which is the only file, which is like a configuration file for Hibernate? Name the Hibernate configuration file. Only one centralized configuration file. Hibernate.cfg. No, I said file, Mohit. Hibernate.cfg.xml. So now pick up your own or mine, I don't this thing. So pick up any working. Now you might have a working Hibernate project or you may not. So here, sorry, this was your web application, my mistake. So earlier project, or I have given you the help, and from there take up hibernate.cfg.xml, and can you notice it has got a src main Java folder. It has got a src main resources. So where will you copy this configuration file? Under Java or under resources? Answer is under resources. Paste it and open it, and you will see the instructions. So which is the root tag, outermost tag? Hibernate configuration, which is going to represent your org.hibernate.cfg.configuration. So here, whatever may be the databases, configuration instance 1. How many session factory tags you will have? Already answered, 1 per database. So here it is all the settings about your MySQL database. Okay. So now when you say auto commit equal to false, you will see when we start talking about the DAO layer, you will see that any Hibernate interaction always happens within a transaction. So unless until you disable the auto commit flag, you cannot begin the transaction. So this will be false. Earlier versions with JDBC driver, we had to supply the driver class, no longer required. Earlier versions of Hibernate, I'm showing you Hibernate 5.x, we had a property. Now I'm answering somebody's question. Hibernate dialect. I have mentioned it in why Hibernate. So why don't I open this? Just give me a second. I'll just open my one of those readmes. Where is that? Readme Hibernate, I guess. Where? Oh no, why Hibernate? I mentioned it. Okay, so simply open that Hibernate this. I don't remember because I keep writing so many things. Okay, yes. So there is a concept of, okay, what I'm telling you is exam or your interview objective. So listen to this carefully. earlier means in Hibernate 4.x version, we used to add a property here in the Hibernate property configuration file, hibernate.dialect, and we used to supply the database dialect class. So let us understand it. Let me ask you, do you require to set this Hibernate dialect property in the recent versions from the Hibernate 5.x onwards? Have we added this property called as hibernate.dialect? Answer is no. But if anyone asks you, you should know about it. So what is it? It's a very interesting discussion. So here, let me ask you, when you write, when you develop Hibernate-based project, Hibernate-based application, will it be database specific or database independent? Completely database independent. Means what? If you change, or whenever you want to change from MySQL database to, let's say, Oracle database, what is the only thing will change? Of course, the MySQL, the JDBC connector will change. MySQL connector will be replaced by OJDBC, and this property file, this configuration file, of course, will have to be edited. But will you have to make any changes in the Java code when you go from MySQL to Oracle? Answer is no. And why is that? Because tomorrow, this can't happen today. Today is just a first day. Tomorrow we are going to start writing all these queries in something called as JPQL, Java Persistence Query Language. Okay. So who is going to translate database independent queries written in JPQL HQL to database specific SQL? Programmer or Hibernate? Hibernate. But Hibernate is not a magician. So Hibernate will look at the property database dialect, and that property will tell Hibernate that, oh, you are using MySQL database, so it will convert it into MySQL 8, because that is the one we are using currently, MySQL 8 syntax. So the last question now, when I don't mention this property, how come Hibernate still extracts this database dialect? Hibernate has become smarter. So it looks into the DB URL, and from DB URL, it reaches out to this database through the driver and finds out the database dialect. So to summarize, let me ask you questions. Who is going to use implicitly Hibernate database dialect property? Okay, one question at a time. Who is going to use this database dialect property? Programmer or Hibernate? P or H? Hibernate. For which purpose? Tell me the purpose. You should know why. For what purpose? That's a long answer, so I will give you that answer. For translating, yes, conversion. For translating database independent HQLs, JPQLs to database specific queries. Absolutely correct. All those who are answering are very right. And for that, of course, it has to know what is that underlying database dialect is database version, database type. So what is that underlying database dialect, database version? So earlier we used to write whatever hibernate.dialect property, and we used to actually provide. Today, it can figure it out from the database URL. Understood something about database dialect base? And when we run it, you will see it appears in the console that it is picking up that MySQL database dialect. Just run it with Oracle, Oracle driver and all. It will pick up Oracle 12 or whichever Oracle database you are using. Okay, so going little faster. So now username, DB URL, password, copy them as it is. URL don't touch. The username and password, check it. Whatever you are working once in DB utils, it should match. So my combination, you know, it is root and root. This you ignore. I can't explain it today. Tomorrow I'll explain. What is the maximum connection pool size we have configured? 10. So if you have a higher concurrency than that, means what? Higher concurrency means what? If you have more than 10 requests coming at the time for your CRUD operation, 11. So all 10 connections will be pulled out, removed from the pool, extracted from the pool, and the 11th request, 11th client will have to wait. Understood what I'm saying? Exactly like thread pool. Okay. So the connection pool size initializes with 1 and maximum it can grow to 10. These were two, These two were the debugging. Later, you can just remove it if the default value is false. Once you have a field, you can remove all this from the console. All that generated, you remember that create table and all that SQL. Later, you'll have insert, update, delete, select, etc. will appear on the console. And this is a very interesting property. So HBM stands for what? Hibernate mapping to data definition language. And I'll give you, maybe I have shared the readme already. There are so many readmes. So there are multiple values. I'll just tell you about update. So you tell me, if the table corresponding to Pojo does not exist, will this update property create the table first? Mohit, your question is, okay, I'll take your question because I looked at it now. Answer is, it is not Hibernate's limitation. It's your database limitation. So if your underlying database is supporting, for example, maximum 100 connections, can you really increase the pool size beyond 100? Okay, so that is the answer I have for you, Mohit, that way. So yeah, for the rest of you, of course, it will create the database table. But next time, when you run the application again, you run it multiple times, the table will not be touched. So you'll keep on updating. I mean, you'll keep on using the existing table. So this is like more or less for your discussion on this. Other than this thread, it's again a very interesting property. I have given you some idea. So right now, you don't have a Pojo here. I said we will do it from scratch other than copying this class. So don't keep this. Right now, I'm not saying delete it and all. In the next moment, we are going to create a Pojo. So actually, let's comment it. Just mark it and call Control-Shift/. Because I just want to revise the bootstrapping. So once you have an idea about debugging, troubleshooting, you won't require any of our help. So remove this, remove me, just comment it, we'll uncomment it little later. So now tell me, which layers are created, or rather what all we have done? Hardly anything. I have got the Hibernate dependencies under Maven dependencies all pulled from that central repo to local repo and local repo to link to my project. And then we have got a Hibernate configuration XML file. You tell me, what is the next step? What is the next step we should do? What we used to do in JDBC is DB utils. So here DB utils will be replaced by what? Hibernate utils. So now tell me, what was the job of DB utils in JDBC? And we will discuss the job of Hibernate utils. Get the connection, get the singleton instance of connection, etc. And which was the API we were using? Driver manager.get connection, which was giving you pool-based connection or the connection from the connection pool or a fixed connection. I'm saying driver manager.get connection, a fixed one. All clear? So now you're going to write a one-liner or two-liner, whatever, Hibernate utils, which will configure your, okay, which will read all these entries, all these properties from Hibernate configuration XML file and will give you the connection pool. But you don't have a direct access to connection pool. So we will create a singleton object of, tell me, session or session factory? Session factory. So in one line, what is the job of Hibernate utils? To provide you with a singleton, immutable. Immutable means not modifiable. Means what? Once your session factory object is created, can you make changes to it by making the changes in Hibernate configuration XML file? You can't. You will have to shut down the application and restart the application to apply those changes. That is the meaning of immutability. Okay, so that object we want to create. So start working. We are going to, if you want, you can copy from earlier code or you can even finish it in one minute. So here, src main Java, classes, and utils, and Hibernate utils. Okay. All this is it is called as native Hibernate API, meaning it will of course change when you change the persistence vendor, JPA vendor, persistence provider from Hibernate to Kodo, all this will change. So that is why when I take you to Spring Boot, we don't use directly Hibernate API. We climb to the JPA level and we write everything using JPA. So Hibernate utils, and here declare You can start with the import list so that you won't get anything wrong. All Hibernate related packages start with org.hibernate. And because of that configuration, we want to create the instance of configuration that is in org.hibernate.cfg.configuration class. Okay, so now just declare here, since we want a single instance, make it static. What is the other reason I made it static? Static initializer block can only access static members. That is why static. I mean, that is why another reason. And declare your session factory here. Any suitable variable name. So suppose we call it as a factory. Okay. And you know very well who will invoke the static initializer block and when and how many times. You know all these answers from core Java. JVM's class loader is going to call exactly once the static initializer block at the time of the class loading, right? So that is the one of the ways, you know, to achieve singleton pattern. There is no way multiple factory instances can be created. Okay, so start. So I want to create one singleton instance of factory. So what is the starting point? Create the configuration object. So, you know, relate things, guys. When I say configuration, it is nothing but representing this XML tag, entire Hibernate configuration. Okay, continue. So new configuration. But when you create the default, when you create this instance, has it read the instructions from this configuration XML file, or is it all empty so far? Once at a class loading time is a very right answer, Prashant. Yes. So it is all empty. So which is the method to tell Hibernate that read the instructions? Method name is configure. Read the pop-up help. It uses the mappings and the properties specified in the resource called as Hibernate configuration XML. In simple words, at this point, entire Hibernate framework or whatever those entries will be loaded. So now tell me, is it now empty configuration or populated with all these entries? All this information populated. So now are we ready to attach or build the session factory to it? From it? Answer is yes. So the simple method is build session factory. Got the idea completely? This was a simple one, so we just wrote it once. Done? But now, since it is all private and all, let's give a getter. So generate a getter here. Not toString, generate a getter. Because I don't want whole, there's no setter required. So just give a getter. And here, what is it your code is going to call? Okay, let me ask you properly. Anytime I call for the first time Hibernate utils.get factory, whenever you call any static methods, it is a trigger for class loading. So class will get loaded. Along with that, static initializer block will get called. And that is the time your singleton immutable session factory instance will be created in the heap. But next time onwards, even if I call get factory 300 times, 100 times, what is it going to do? Is it going to repeat the static initializer block invocation? Absolutely not. And that is how we have achieved the singletoning. So this is referred to as eager singleton. Why it is called eager? Because the whole business is happening. The singleton instance of session factory is happening right at the class loading. That is why it is called as a eager singleton pattern. And if you want to anytime, confirm all this, you can put a this thing. What is it? Some SOP in static initializer block. Okay. So you will know in guarantee that whatever number of times you call, it will return you the same instance. Understood utils completely? There is a just a, what do you say, two-liner thing. Okay. So here, after that, write yourself a tester, one test script. You should keep it ready. Later, I'm going to show you write the test cases under SRC test Java, but little later. So currently, let's write our own standard tester. SRC main Java, click on this. We are not writing test cases. We are writing our testers here. And here, tester, and this is our startup script, which will check whether Hibernate framework is loaded correctly. And if your Hibernate configuration XML file is all right, and your jars are downloaded properly, there is no way you will have a problem. So from tomorrow onwards, nobody is going to waste a minute. So please have one template project like this ready. And anytime anytime we are developing, we are going ahead. Tomorrow will be all whole CRUD day. Next will be advanced Hibernate and all that. Okay, so you will just make a copy and continue in a fast manner. That way it is going to be. So now just I want to call that get factory. So import starter-kit. And since it is, if you see the session factory documentation, refer, it is auto-closable. So I can definitely open it in a try with resources manner. And the moment I call, even for the first time, be careful. I keep telling you, pick up everything from Hibernate APIs. Get factory. It is going to call that get factory for the first time. Class will get loaded, static initializer block will run, and just confirming that it is working at all. So Hibernate working or something, up and running. This is nothing but your bootstrapping. Correct? And just to confirm that session factory is an interface supported by the implementation class. You will see the fully qualified name and all that. And in case of any issues, see, Hibernate translates all checked exceptions, SQL exceptions and all to unchecked Hibernate exceptions. So just as a what do you say, precaution, we are giving this. So in case of any errors, you will know that. So let me ask you a simple question. What is it your JVM going to call at line number 12? Everyone knows it. What is the code? Your JVM will call automatically. Absolutely correct. Session factory.close. But what is that session factory? It is holding that connection pool. So are we leaving that connection pool open without closing it? Of course not. So this will automatically close the connection pool. And how do you know? Read, all answers are in the console. So you'll definitely see cleanup of the connection pool done. So whatever number of connections, initially it starts with only one. Until when you don't have concurrency, it will all happily use only one. If you use more connections, more pressure, more load, then it will start pumping in more and more connections. Okay, so this is all happening in a auto-closable manner. And then of course, you just have to run. Guys, when I say run, please, you know what you do is you are totally into web programming or whatever you are, I don't know. So don't run XML. This is your good old standalone desktop project. So are you going to run it like something like right click, run as and all? No, this is not a server side application. So which is that what is it called? Desktop, I mean, standalone application is tester. So open that tester and here you have run test Hibernate and watch the console and you should see I've already explained. Okay, some new thing, not new exactly, but some things. So check this. Driver name I have not supplied, but it has figured out that okay, it has to load that my com MySQL CJ JDBC driver. The URL we have specified. So let me ask you, has it figured out correct database dialect or has it not? I'm just drawing your attention to important stuff. Of course it has. How many connections are waiting idly in the pool? Currently one. And we are happy with that. Unless until you really expose your application to multiple clients, this is more than sufficient. And you can see all that connection obtained from, etc. And you can see, just look at this for understanding the internals. So which is the interface we have used in our application? Session factory. And this is that internal implementation class which native Hibernate API uses. And the moment you come to end of try with resources, it is calling session factory.close, releasing all the database resources. Nothing but a cleaning up of connection pool. And And that is where we are terminating. Understood the bootstrap process? Understood? I mean, for everyone, it is now working fine. No issues. Great. So like I said, guys, make a template, make a copy of this project anytime you are working. When I show you maybe on third day, integration of web application with Hibernate. We'll take that CMS, content management system, and some part I'll do as usual. Some part I'll give you as an assignment. Admin flow I'll do, or customer flow I'll do. I'll give you admin or something. I mean, one of these things will do. So that time I'll give you the instructions on how to add the Hibernate support in the web application, but definitely not for next 2 days. Now, so tell me, okay, so what are the layers? Actually, I've got some diagram. I don't know. Let's see. Give me a second. So in the diagrams, do we have a diagram? Yeah. So open. There is too much I have shared. So even I take a minute to figure it out. Please open day 9 help, Hibernate help diagrams. Open. And you will see there is a figure called as Hibernate development building blocks. This is just to give you a summary. This is, okay, some of the things are like obsolete there now. So I have not updated it, to be very honest. So you will see, but at least you will have some idea. So you have a database. Do you have to actually create a table, or is Hibernate automatically do the table creation? Automatic table creation. But you know, at a glance, you should look at what you have. So what we started with is a Maven configuration, all that pom.xml, which has brought in your Hibernate and JDBC dependencies. We configured, ignore the spellings, Hibernate configuration XML for our database. You have edited username, password, etc. This was the older one. So ignore this. I'll update it if I get time. So Hibernate utils is the last thing we did. And earlier we had a cryptic, we had too many things. Today it is straight. We just created a configuration, configured it, and attached the session factory. And then we wrote your tester, which is just a test script to confirm to create the session factory. And that is what we did. Are the layers so far clear? Okay, so now next thing also we had done. So I'm not going to write this Pojo from scratch, but I'll definitely explain each and every annotation. Let it be, what is it called? Spring MVC annotation, Hibernate annotation, JP annotation. People grill you a lot on annotations. So this is the one we are developing. Or rather, I'll copy from our earlier this. So what is it we are developing, guys? A Pojo. So either you call it as a Pojo or an entity or later model of model MVC, it is all the same. So let me ask you, who is going to manage the object to relational mapping? Programmer or Hibernate? Simple question, simple answers. Of course, Hibernate. Okay, but Hibernate is not a magician. So like how we had to give the instructions to web container using either XML tags or annotations, Hibernate needs the instructions. So can you, okay, by the way, don't get mixed up. This is the root configuration file I've already written. I'm not talking about that. But when you write a Pojo, which Pojo we wrote earlier? User Pojo. So there are two ways of informing Hibernate. So one is the approach which is what we'll use throughout, using standard annotations. But is there an alternative? So answer is yes. There was a classic approach, legacy approach, where per Pojo, suppose you write user, you write orders, you write products, etc. So per Pojo, one can write pojo.hbm.xml. Okay, so for example, user.hbm.xml, customer.hbm.xml, orders, order.hbm.xml, and write all the instructions. So just think in numbers. In your project, suppose you are managing 10 Pojos. How many, HBM stands for Hibernate mapping. How many hbm.xml files will you need to write? Are you getting it? One per Pojo. And guys, soon things used to blow up. Blow up in the sense used to go out of hand. So Meet any Hibernate developer of today, not 10 years old, and he will or she will definitely advise annotations. So annotations are possible, available from either a JPA package. JPA means Java-Persistence, or they're also available from, why don't you look at it, Hibernate specific. So where is my, this is Java EE. I think I've closed that. I'll open Hibernate. Keep both the Java docs in front of you. For Hibernate specific APIs, you will refer to Hibernate API docs. For JPA, you will refer to J2E docs. So here, if you open Hibernate docs, you will see there is a package. Where is that? Okay, so the name of the package is, I'll tell you, org.hibernate.annotations. Okay, and if you see the annotations here, there is a entity annotation and all that. So you tell me, which is a better idea? Should we use org Hibernate annotations or should we use JP annotations from javax.persistence package? 100% JP. Okay, 100% is a strong word, but most of the time, unless until somebody comes to me with a project need that, okay, this annotation doesn't exist, then I'll show you something Hibernate specific. But in almost all the cases, we will stick to JP annotations. What is the reason behind why we are not using? Exactly. So which independence are we talking about, Akshata, Prashant? Database independence. No, sorry. Scratch that. My mistake. I gave you wrong answer. Sorry. Persistence provider independence. Okay, let's see this. JPA is the specification and Hibernate is one of the JPA vendor, JPA implementer. Understood that? Specification, JPA, implementation, Hibernate. So if you use org.hibernate.annotations, and if your company is not using Hibernate, but they are using, suppose, Kodo, with that WebLogic application server, Kodo is the persistence partner. Okay, so in that case, will you have to change your Pojo or will it continue to work? Of course, you'll have to change the Pojo. Are you understanding it? That is the reason we are sticking to JP annotations as much as possible. So open Java EE, and which is the package for JPA? The name of the package is javax.persistence. And in couple of days, whenever I take you from native Hibernate to JPA, your session factory will be replaced by something called as entity manager factory, full JPA compliant, and your session will be replaced by the entity manager. So if you are wondering, then why you are making us suffer? Why don't you show me directly entity manager? Your contents talk about Hibernate Hibernate specific APIs. So next 2-3 days, native Hibernate to be replaced by JPA later. So going ahead. So here is the development building blocks. So now we are going to copy that Pojo and annotate it using JP annotations from the package javax.persistence. So this I'm not ready to write all over. Takes too much time. So please copy from that day 9 Hibernate. You copy from the package itself, Pojos. We will discuss each and every one. And I'll give you most of the things I've given in writing, but whatever I've not written, I'll give you. So please copy it from day 9 Hibernate to day 9 lab, SRC main Java, paste it, and open it, and we'll start solving. You tell me whenever you are copied. Done the copy from earlier package to this. Okay, so you can open this and you can check the import list. The only package from which we are picking up the annotations is JPA. So it is all full JPA compliant, 0 changes. When you replace Hibernate by JDO or Kodo or Eclipsing, 0 changes. Now you start answering. Which are the only 2 annotations which are compulsory? Mandatory annotations, please. There are 2 important annotations, entity and ID. So before I jump into annotations, let me say something. This is your ordinary otherwise Pojo class, which has private, non-static, non-transient data members, a default constructor super must. I mean, if you don't write any constructor, then the compiler will supply. Getters, setters compulsory. Without that, Hibernate cannot manage the persistence. And a toString, not compulsory, but recommended for debugging. Okay, so now let's start looking at each individual annotation quickly, and then I hope to look at some DAO layer. At least one DAO layer will write, one operation will write. Okay, so start. At entity. You tell me, class level annotation, method level annotation, field level, or a property level? It's an easy question. Class level. Who is going to read this annotation? A web container or Hibernate? There's no web container here. Even later when we integrate this with this, web container doesn't look into it, Hibernate framework. So you are telling Hibernate framework that whatever is following is the entity to be managed by, the entity will have states, full state transition diagram, transient to persistent, detached, removed, all these things tomorrow. So you will see that whole life cycle will be managed by Hibernate just with one annotation. Next one. So this is your compulsory one. Without that, just comment it and you will see the corresponding table doesn't get generated. Hibernate doesn't even know about it. Tell me. Compulsory or, mandatory or optional? 100% optional. So if you don't add it, if you comment it, what will be the name of the table Hibernate will generate? Same as Pojo name. So if you are happy about it, I would recommend not, because Java style names and database style names are different. So we definitely use at table. And there are other properties also, such as unique constants and all. Whenever we require, I'll explain. So now simple question, simple answer. What is the name of the Pojo? User. What is the corresponding name of the table it has created, or it will create, or whatever? Users table. All clear so far? It will update. Himanshu, I said already, we have said this thing, update. Okay. Only thing is, let me say this clearly. If you add the new, this thing, what is it called? Data members, the alter table will happen, Himanshu. But if you have the table, let's say email, password, and age, but in the Pojo you don't have age, is it going to drop column, delete columns automatically by altering? Answer is no. Okay, so be careful in the initial phases. Alter table can happen for adding the columns, dropping the columns, modifying the columns doesn't work with Hibernate that way. Okay, so go ahead. So these are the class level. Others, whenever I require, will add. Compulsory one. If you don't add, 100% persistence will not work. Persistence means saving the state of this object in a permanent form. But since it is a Hibernate-based persistence, what is the persistence unit? Is it a database or is it a binary file? Where it is going to store this information? Of course, database. That I had shown you in object streams. Using serialization, deserialization in core Java, that time the information was stored and restored from a binary. Today, all database. Today means continuously database. Okay, go faster. So here, somebody was asking me about composite primary key. Composite primary key is later because it involves more understanding. So this is your single field. And here, okay, let's see this. So when you say at ID, it will add the primary key constraint. Simple. But if you don't add any of this, okay, let us go one by one. If you don't add, if you comment this, who will have to supply this thing, value of the primary key? User supplied or automatically generated? Answer is user, which is not Hibernate. I said if you don't supply this generated value, it won't be generated automatically. You will have to supply. You will have to supply means what? You will have to create a Pojo, user is equal to new user, and you will have to supply, in addition to all other things, the primary key, which we don't want. So we always use at generated value. It has got so many strategies: auto, table, sequence, etc. So which is the best one? Which will give you the auto increment? Answer is the strategy type is identity. So here It tells you persistence provider must assign primary keys using database identity column. So will it work for Oracle? Unfortunately, no. Oracle doesn't support any auto increment constraint. So this is well suited, best suited for MySQL. In Oracle, there is a sequence. Oracle supports sequence. So then we use something called as sequence generators. You focus on MySQL currently. Next one is easy. If I comment this, what will be the generated column name? Same as Ojo property name. If you want to alter that column name, if you want to modify, give the column name, whatever you like. Suggestion is definitely keep it database style. So tell me, these annotations all clear? Only mandatory one is at ID. Next one. So now I'll just take whatever is new. This length, can you pass it to any data type or only to string? This length element only to string. And what does it fix? It will fix your varchar size. What is the default value of varchar size? You can just, this thing, it's 255 characters. So you can trim it, or if you want larger content, you can say length equal to 1K or 2K or whatever large content you want to generate, you want to keep, and you can modify. So next one. When you say unique equal to true, which is the column constraint, column level constraint, it will add uniqueness. It's not a primary key, you know that. Primary key constraint is different, but this is the unique constraint, cannot have the duplicate values of the email ID. Getting it so far? Not confused so far on the annotations? Okay. Unique key is right, very right. So yeah, somebody was asking me about transient. So recall your transient keyword. What is the meaning of a transient keyword in Java? Transient is the keyword meant for JVM to skip a particular data member from serialization. That was your understanding of transient keyword. But here what it means, see, just take the cursor here and you'll know. So here you are telling, what is it called? Your Hibernate framework. Do not persist this property. In simple English, will your Hibernate create a table column for confirm password? Of course not. So anything you want to skip from persistence, anything you want to skip from ORM mapping, object to relational mapping, just add at transient. So maybe at a presentation logic, you know, you have a validation, password confirm, password must match. At that time, you can use the property, but definitely no column generation. Are we clear, guys? Somebody was asking me about transient. Are you clear? Transient is skip, not associate. No, you are tangent off, Prandanishwar. Nothing with the session and all. I said it so clear cut. So why you are confusing? There won't be any column generation for confirm password, period. Don't draw wrong conclusions on your own. You're still new to it. Next one. What is the data type of role? Enum. So if I comment this at enumerated, will it have the corresponding column generated? 100% yes. But what will be the data type of, what will be the column type? Int, yeah, ordinal type, exactly. So if you are happy in the sense, if your business requirement is, I want to maintain the positions, ordinal position, this thing get commented. The default type itself is enum type.ordinal. But if I want to store the constant names, customer role, user role, whatever role, admin role and all, you change it to enumerated enum type.string. Still understanding? Not confused? Okay, next one. Registration amount, I just changed the name. Okay, so here, what all types of dates your Hibernate supports? It supports java.sql date, java.util date, Gregorian calendar, and local date also. So whenever I get a chance, I'll tell you. If you use java.util.date, java.util.date is a holder of a date and time, both. So at that time, you have to give the additional annotations. But if you say local date, you tell me, what does it hold? Date or time? Answer is only date. So enum once again. Okay, I'll go to that enum once again, but enum is this. So local date, you don't require any, what is it called? Any additional annotation. Whenever I get a chance, I'll show you. If you use the data type date, there is a new annotation @temporal, and you supply temporal type as temporal type.date, but not required for the modern API. Enumeration was easy. Enum has ordinal or a constant. So if you should play with the code. So drop the table, comment this, and tell me tomorrow what was the column type. Column type will be int, representing the ordinal position. You remember what is that ordinal position? What will be the ordinal for customer? What will be the value? 0. That for admin will be 1, and likewise. So since I don't want to use, I don't want to maintain the positions in the database, I want the actual constants. We added an additional annotation. You can, I think it will tell you the help. Yeah, specifies that persistent property or a field should be persisted as the enum type, and they will tell you that whether you want it as a, ordinal or position. Default is ordinal. Default is ordinal. We change it to string. String means constant name will appear. We have not yet inserted the record. Wait for some time. We will definitely insert. Let me little bit hurry up. Okay, the last one. Are we doing any image handlings today? Definitely not. That will happen tomorrow sometime. But anytime, let's say user registers, I want to store the user's DP, or some information, anything, some user profile, or any picture, any images, or later the resume or any documents, any binary format. What will be the data type you use? Byte array. And do you really need, is @LOB a compulsory annotation? No. But if you don't add that, the type of the column which will be generated will be database specific. So if you want to create a underlying database column which can hold larger data, long block type basically, the annotation is @large object. Same annotation you will use even if you want to add clock. Clock means this thing. What is it? Character large object or binary large object. The annotation is the same. Data type here will be replaced by either string in case you want clock or char array. So this was a complete recap of all the annotations. Understood it in a better manner? Got a better clarity? And as you have seen, just adding the annotated POJO is not sufficient. Which entry you have to add and where? Which is the document, central document your Hibernate is going to refer. Mapping entry has one property, one attribute as class, other one is resource. So why I'm using class? Because we are using all annotations, annotated POJO. Anytime you have the configuration, what is that? POJO.hbm.xml. This is replaced by resource, and then you have to supply the name of that XML file. For example, user.hbm.xml. So this has to be the fully qualified class name without any mistakes. So then when you run your test script again, so you have to understand how it is working. So when you run the same, I never wrote anything else. We never wrote anything else. So when you say Hibernate utils.getFactory, control comes here. And when you say configure, where are the instructions? From which place it is going to pick up the instructions? Central configuration file. The moment it comes to this entry, think like Hibernate, it will check, is there a table corresponding to user POJO? Initially answer was no. So it would end up, it will create, you can always drop table and create it once again. So just to check. So the table will get created. But in my case, in our case, the table already exists. What was that? Select, that's an empty table, users table, correct? So this table already exists. So is it going to drop and create a new one, or is it going to continue with the existing one? continue with the existing one. That is the meaning. That is the meaning of your update. So this was a full-fledged, complete revision of whatever we did so far. Any specific queries, or you are all kind of okay? Just 50% understanding at least of what we did. Not Hibernate. Hibernate is a huge topic. Tell me, any specific queries or got some better feel? Okay, so what we are going to do is, I know it is late, but at least, I'll get you a little bit started ahead so you can revise, and tomorrow morning you can ask me more questions if any. So open that development blocks. Somebody's asking a question. Give me a minute. I'll first explain this and I'll take your question. I did not read what you said. Anyway, so now tell me which blocks are already developed. We have our jars. We have configured this XML file. We have built a very simple Hibernate configuration. I'm so sorry, Hibernate utils file. And we have our entity also. So now in the remaining 10 minutes, I'm logging off in 10-15 minutes. So what I want to show you is how to insert a record. See, it starts with create, retrieve, update, delete. See, so I want to insert a record showing you Hibernate session API. So which layer we have not yet built so far is the Hibernate-based DAO layer. So this is the first time we are replacing now we are not going to go back to JDBC. So here onwards, whatever remaining days in J2E, we will use Hibernate JPA, Spring Data JPA based DAO layer. So I'll discuss this, of course, in detail. And we are going to use the session API so that we don't have to go all the way down to the database and JDBC layer. Hibernate itself will provide us the abstraction. So this is what we are building. Or rather, this is what we are going to build in a couple of minutes. Okay, everyone understands what we are going to do? So here, we always start with a interface and then write the implementation class. So here, src main Java. For interface, you don't require my help. So the first requirement is create a record. So here, package DAO, Hibernate-based DAO, and let us stick to the same naming convention, user DAO. And here, add a method to insert user details in the database. So you know the whole thing. Typically, DMLs have a string as a return type. Since it is a registering new user, you can say add user details, register user, whatever. Anyone wants to tell me what should be the argument here to create a new record? You know this from your JDBC understanding. User, absolutely. And later you'll know this is nothing but called as the transient user, which we will persist in our DAO layer. Control-Shift-O, imports, answer the question. In our JDBC, we were forced to write throws SQL exception. So here, any throws clause, required or not required, changes from JDBC to Hibernate, 100% not required. Why? Because answer is exception translation. Hibernate will absorb, as in catch, all JDBC specific your checked SQL exception and rethrow them back as a Hibernate exception. But Hibernate exception is what? Checked or unchecked? 100% unchecked. Open that Hibernate Java docs and search for, first you go here and say all classes and Control F for Hibernate exception. And you will see the hierarchy. It is coming from your runtime exception, extending from JP extension. The moment it comes from runtime, it is unchecked. In short, not forced. Compiler doesn't force the handling. All done so far? Okay. Now I had told you, I had requested you, you may not have read it so far, but you will read it sometime. Which is the most important interface is the session interface. So whatever I'm telling you is basically taken from here. Okay, so this session API we are going to use, and if you just go below, go here, they have given you a typical code. Some things we will modify, but very few things we will modify. So all the things we will, I mean, some of the things, like I said, we will modify, but you will know what. So now the requirement is we will write a tester, and tester will talk to user UI. We will get all the user details, and tester will call the DAO layer method, and this DAO layer method we are discussing. So let me start first sharing good news. If you compare JDBC based DAO layer, you remember what is it we had to do? We had to add the data members. Which data members we added in the JDBC based DAO layer? Give me some example. We have been doing it for more than 8 days. Connection, prepared statements, and all that. No longer required. Connection pool is already there in form of session factory, 0 state. What is it we used to do in the JDBC based constructor? I mean, DAO layer ka constructor. Get the connection, prepare the statements, and keep it ready. 0 need of constructor. Because again, the connection factory, I mean, whatever that connection pool is ready with the session factory. No need of writing ever cleanup. You're going to see the entire connection management is going to look so simple, so easy. So in the DAO layer, no constructor, no cleanup, no state. So we will directly start writing which method? CRUD API. Understood what I said? I'll repeat it tomorrow morning when you are fresher. So that is why that is what I'm discussing. So tell me, what is the first step? I'm going to write it in comments. The first step is obtain the session from a session factory. There are 2 methods. So looking at time today, I'll just discuss one. So there is a method, session factory. You can open that session factory, and you can see there is a method called as open session. Okay, doesn't give you too much. So here, opens a session means it opens a brand new session by taking out fixed connection from the database or a pooled connection out of a pool. Pooled or fixed? Of course, a pooled connection. So it will be extremely fast. Guys, getting the session, opening the session from session factory, extremely fast. That's why you can do it just as per demand. Any Hibernate API, as in any CRUD operation, should always be done within a transaction. So we will begin a transaction. I'll show you the API. And what they say by do some work, here they mean use session API. The methods are session.save, session.create query, session.update, delete, get, etc. And if all goes well, that is, if there are no errors, no exceptions, the try block will continue to the end. So what should you do at the end of it? Commit the transaction. So at this point, whatever are the changes or whatever is there in the object state, that will be synchronized. Synchronized means not thread safety. That will be reflected, that will be mapped to the database state. In simple English, on this line, insert query will be fired. Insert, update, delete, whatever. So today we only insert. But in case there is an exception, we will not catch this exception. I told you some changes I'm going to make. We are interested in Hibernate exception. But Hibernate exception is what? Checked or unchecked? Unchecked. What is the superclass of all unchecked exception? Runtime exception. So we don't go for checked exception. We generally catch the runtime exception. And exception means what? Something has failed in the transaction. So we will roll back. But in commit or rollback, the connection which is out of the pool has not yet returned to the pool. So everyone knows the meaning of finally. Finally code always survives other than system.exit kind of things. So here we will close the connect. I'm so sorry. Here we will close the session. And at this point, will the internal session is just a wrapper around your database connection. So will it actually close the connection or will the pulled out connection return to the pool? Returned or closing? Of course, it will return to the pool. Okay. So this is what we are going to try. Write a tester, I know I'm taking up a lot of your lab time, but it's worth it, I guess. And that will give you that, okay, working with Hibernate is so easy. Some of you may be thinking, or maybe all of you, I don't know, so much of code. So I'll tell you something ahead of time. As I take you to more and more advanced technologies, this repetitive code called as boilerplate code literally will reduce to zero. But that is a thing to experience. Today I can't show you. Today we will end up writing all of this. So now, what is the next step? We have identified a DAO interface. Let us write the implementation class. Ankit, you have no idea about internals. Tomorrow you meet me after the tomorrow same time, and then I'll tell you that, okay, I have told you so much of internals. Okay, so this is just we are at the surface level. Trust me on that. Anyway, so DAO, click on DAO class, and here the naming is the same, user DAO IMPL, and which is the interface it is going to implement? Our own interface, user DAO. Tell me once you reach here. Utils, Rajiv, is the same. I just copied this thing. See, this is the utils. It's the same as in the morning thing. I did not change a word. Okay, so I have already shared with you all day 9 Hibernate. So pick it up from there if you did not write it. Okay, so come back here to the DAO implementation so that I can finish it fast. I can wrap up the session. Start with the imports, which is the only package you are going to require here. I mean, Hibernate related packages is org.hibernate. Put it. You are not going to use any JPA here, only Hibernate. Yes, and you will need to create the session. So who is the session provider? Which is the interface which gives you the sessions? SF, session factory. And that session factory is available in Hibernate utils. So please add a import static here so that your code reduces utils.hibernate utils.get factory. So this is all about the imports. Of course, you'll require Pojo. Yeah, Pojo it has already got. So see the reduction of code. No data members, no constructor, no cleanup. Hibernate will manage everything automatically. Okay, so write a comment and then we'll write the code. So everything starts with get. When I say session, you're so used to HTTP session. So let me be explicit. Get Hibernate session from its provider, which is a session factory. So just now I explained the API. So when you say session, please pick up everything from org.hibernate. And suppose I say session, and the right hand side is get factory. This gives you the session factory dot. There are two methods. The one which we will regularly use tomorrow onwards is get current session. Today you start with a open session. What is the difference and all tomorrow? So step 1, everything starts and ends with a session. So open the session. Open the session as in get the Hibernate session. Tomorrow I'll tell you it opens a brand new session by actually taking the connection out of a pool. Next step is begin a transaction. TX is for transaction. So when you say transaction, be careful. All interfaces, I have shown you in that Hibernate architecture. I did not mention, but this is your Hibernate transaction. And there is a method in the session API to begin the transaction. You will literally memorize it within no time. Just write 1 or 2 DAO layer methods and you'll be good to go. Like, so open the session, begin the transaction. Next part, open, try, catch. So are we going to catch any checked exceptions or unchecked exceptions? Unchecked exceptions. Hibernate is an unchecked exception. So replace this by, you can technically replace it by Hibernate, but then in some cases you have problems. So runtime exception. And I don't know whether you noticed, they have told you, if transaction is not equal to null, means transaction is already created, roll back the transaction. That is, discard the transaction, undo the changes, and Here, they are advising you rethrow the exception to the caller so that caller will know something went wrong in the DAO layer. So today, since it is like a test case, the caller of the DAO layer will be tester. Later, in JSP Java Bean scenario, who will be the caller of the DAO layer method? The JSP is a wrong answer. Java Bean is a correct answer, guys. You forgot. JSP calls the Java Beans method for separation, and Java Bean calls the DAO layer method. Okay, so that will be like this. So coming back to the point, here follow everything from the docs most of the times, then you don't have to worry. So here discard, I won't say discard, I'll say roll back the transaction, because you have definitely come across some problems. So there is no point in committing the transaction, roll back the transaction. So here, if same thing I'm doing, if transaction is not null, means if the transaction was really created, then only say transaction dot roll back. Otherwise, you'll start getting null pointer exceptions, all precise coding, and rethrow the same exception to the caller. There is no rethrow keyword, you know that. You got this exception, so rethrow, I'll write it, rethrow the same exception to the caller, so that caller, which is going to be currently a tester, a test script, test case, so that a caller knows or identifies something went wrong in the DAO layer. So that is the typical programming thing. Tell me, will you need a finally block or you won't need a finally block? Do you need a finally here? Answer is yes, 100% required. Because when you the session represents a pulled out connection. So whatever the connection is come out of the pool has to return to the pool. So add a finally block, and here just check if session is not equal to null. I'll revise this part tomorrow morning. I know I'm writing it in a fast manner. You just say session dot close. You can, of course, oh, sorry, clear is totally different. Session dot close, and here the session is a wrapper around your database connection. So here pulled out connection returns to the pool. Otherwise, we will hardly have the reusability part. All your connections will be like outside the pool. And the last part you write, I mean, not this, the end of it. So if you survive all the try block, what does it mean? Success or failure? If you reach at the end of the try block, a success. So upon success, what is it we are going to do? Is we want to commit the transaction. Without committing the transactions, the changes. So here is where the changes in the object layer, I mean in the POJO basically, will be synchronized to database. In simple English, this is for registration of user. So those DMLs, which DMLs I'm talking about? For registering the user, which query you think will be fired? Natural, obvious question. Insert query. So here, insert will be fired. Tomorrow when I complete the CRUD, insert update delete will be fired here upon commit. Now the last bit, and we are ready to write a tester and test it. So if we wanted, this is all boilerplate code which will disappear over time. So don't worry. So the only line we will later require is the one which I'm writing. So looking at time, I'll directly give you the API. There is a method. You can read method of org. Okay, I was going to say org.hibernate.session. Method of a session interface. There is a method called as save. So it is public. Since internally Hibernate uses serialization, deserialization. So what it returns is the serializable type which is your primary key basically, ID value, ID property, public serializable, the method name is save, and what goes in is the object. So that O is nothing but here going to be a something called as transient POJO. Later I'll explain. So here it is going to be the user POJO reference. So understand my statements. The job of the tester will be UI. So we will write a tester in a minute. So there we will say that what is the email, name, password, whatever. And your tester will create a POJO, but that POJO will be only existing in the heap. So we are passing that using the POJO reference. And when you say session.save, tomorrow you'll know about caching and the internals, L1 cache, what happens and all that. But when will the actual insert query will be fired, you know? The actual insert query will be only fired upon commit. So today I'm trying to keep it all simple. So simply say session.save, read, persist the given transient instance, first assigning generated ID, etc. all tomorrow. And here you pass your user. So I don't know how much you wrote. So let me give you this user DAO IMPL. Day 9 lab. You can rename it as Day 9 Hibernate lab if you want. Somebody was suggesting that, I guess. DAO layer, user DAO IMPL. So now only writing a tester. The only line which is going to remain, and that too will disappear over time, is this. Rest all is boilerplate. Boilerplate means repetitive code. So once you integrate Hibernate with Spring, the major selling point, USP of Spring is reduction of boilerplate code. And you'll see all of this disappearing. So only for next 2 days, till we are in native Hibernate, you have to write it. Later, no longer required. Okay, I'm just killing time. Finished writing the DAO layer. Can I continue to the last part of a tester and test it? Okay. So now copy the test Hibernate, because I don't want you to write the whole thing again. Copy this test Hibernate into the first test case as register user. I don't want, even when I discuss the CRUD, I don't want anyone to waste time in writing a big test case. I mean, switch case and all that. Write simple testers. In 2-3 days time or 2 days time or whatever, we are again going to go back to your web applications. So don't waste your time at all. So here, call it as register new user or something. Because some of the things are going to be the same. So just copy paste. I'll wait here for you. Create a new test case for insertion of a record, CRUD part, I mean C part of CRUD, create. Done? Can I continue? Okay, so you tell me. When I call this right at the first time, we are calling a static method of Hibernate utils. So that will trigger the class loading, which will trigger the static initializer block and the singleton instance of session factory created right in the beginning of the, not web application, core Java application. Okay. So now answer me. Next question. Will you require scanner here? Our good old scanner. Is scanner required or not required? 100% required. Otherwise, how will you take user inputs? So open the other resource. Scanner. There's no HTTP request. There's no HTTP response. Today, tomorrow, day after, or I don't know. I mean, at least for next 1 or 2 days, focus only on Hibernate. And then the integration will come. Use scanner. Okay. And all you are going to do is you can give this message and you can say enter user inputs, user details. Correct? And as usual, there's a long list. So better copy that constructor arguments. So which one? Not the default one. Everything other than the ID and image. Image we are not going to do it today. Today, image handling tomorrow. So take everything. And here, the standard things. Okay. Registration date. Okay. And this is a local date. So, you know, year, month, and day. So, who is going to call whose method in the today's layers? This is like equivalent to your first day of JDBC. Only like a JDBC, we are replacing it with Hibernate. So tester is going to create the, is going to call the DAO method. So before all of this, create DAO instance. And there's no constructor at all, so we will end up calling only the default constructor. So the DAO is in place. And now you just have to call the DAO layer method. And you remember we have given a string message. Oh, by the way, I realized something. Good, I realized. Here, totally forgot. Are you understanding it? I don't know whether anyone remembered and all that. Guys, I totally forgot about changing the return type. This was original code. So, of course, I don't want to return a null as a message. If we reach here without any exception at all, that means a success. So here, user registered with ID. So are we supplying the ID or is it going to be automatically generated by Hibernate? Auto-generated. You remember add generated value, strategy, identity, etc. So I'm showing that this is your reference ID which got generated. Again, if you delete some records, if you have in between problem, you might see a jump. For example, it will start with 1. But suppose you have a later problem, don't be surprised if you see directly 3 or 4. It is all auto increment sequence. And what I have is user.get ID. Where is that? Get user ID. I had totally forgotten about this. So you would have wondered why it is null. So just add a message here. User registered with a particular ID, and that ID will be generated by Hibernate upon commit. So come back to your tester. Now, so this is that message I expect to see. Now you just have to call the method DAO.register user, and what you have to do is you just have to call a constructor. So everyone knows scanner and all that. So fill that fast. Name. Next. Most of them are text fields. So email, password. Am I here really validating password and confirm password are matching? I'm not. That validation logic you can add later. User role. But user role is a enum. How do you parse string into enum? Which is the method we use for parsing a string into enum? Value of. You remember value of? So yes. So which is that enum we are using is the role dot value of sc.next. We spend a lot of time in core Java. So I hope seriously nobody is finding it difficult. I'll give you this line in a minute. So role is done. What is the next thing? Registration amount. Sc.next double and the date. So that is again local date.parse. You can use import static to reduce your code. Sc.next. So why don't I give you this line so that you won't suffer? I'm giving you the prompt also and that constructor calling also. So you know the layers. In the meantime, I'll just show you the building blocks. So here we are in the tester. Tester will talk to the user UI part. Tester will call the DAO layer method. Hibernate-based DAO layer. Session is nothing but an abstraction of all JDBC connection and all that. So it will hit the database with the query. Which query? Obviously, insert query. So the point to remember is I just had to call session.save if you don't count the rest of the boilerplate code. and we'll see what happens. So rest of the layers were already explained. So done with the typing. You let me know whenever you're done. Or you can take this. This is no-brainer. No-brainer in the sense, that's why I said, Ankit, I have sent you this line. So this is finally going to be replaced by your HTTP request and all that, request parameters. So copy it, paste it, and let me run this just once so that I'll see whether any bugs are there, and then of course you check. You'll know what all to test. So here you are running a Java class containing main, not XML file, not the project. So you should be very observant. So you can check that Hibernate dialect, the whole configuration, it has identified the user. Whenever it comes across that mapping entry, it has done that. And now it is asking us for the username. So I'll give you this also, because if you make a mistake in the inputs, again, you have a problem. This thing, password, then confirm password. Currently, we are not doing any validations. Suppose it is an admin role. Registration amount is suppose whatever, something. And the date is, it's a 0 prefix, year, month, and day. So 2020, maybe 01, Jan, year, month, and day. So maybe 31st of Jan. And you should look out for corresponding. You remember we have done that show SQL. So this is your SQL query generated all by Hibernate. And because of that auto increment sequence showing you something, don't rely on this unless and until you confirm it from the backend. And other than the image, we never set the image. We will attach the image tomorrow. All the data should be properly mapped. So object to relational state of the object is being copied into database. So run it, check it out, and see if it works. Oh, I was going to give you this also, because I'm sure you'll make mistakes in, I mean, not sure. If you make mistakes, I don't want you to suffer like. Okay, so pick up something and check if it is working. This is where I'm stopping. Already stretched a session a lot. Happens in advanced Java all the time. Okay. So I hope you have realized some good things about Hibernate, magical things. All we said is session.save, and automatically the insertion of the record happened. So I'm sharing this with you. Of course, I'll be uploading the whole day 9 lab data in a short while. Sharing this immediately. Day 9 lab. In case you want. Anytime now, you want to this thing, import my project, choose import from Maven existing project. And the moment you import it, first thing you edit is Hibernate configuration XML file and change the username and password. So let me send it to you. I'm so glad to see it is working for at least some of you. For those who it is working, you are supposed to help your friends and take care of their problems. Okay, I've sent you. So do work it out. Do the whatever pending jobs you have in that web application, whatever you want to revise, complete things, read me, or simply take a break, take whatever, and we will meet tomorrow. Oh, in personal I sent? Oh, really? No, I don't think so. I sent it to everyone. Day 9 lab zip. Guys, I sent it to everyone. Anyway, wait for a while. I'll be uploading it on a Google Drive in 10 minutes time, guys. So that will be all from my side. Sleep over Hibernate. And tomorrow we'll complete the CRUD operations. And once you do the CRUD operations, then the real Hibernate fun will start. Advanced things and all that we'll do tomorrow. That will be all. See you around.